Everything's working fine on my end.
And we're live, and with me I have Michea B. Welcome, Michea.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing okay.
Would you describe yourself as a feminist?
As a feminist, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos. I haven't seen them all, but I have seen some of them. You have a message to anti-feminist. It, you have message to feminists. You participated in the message to feminist challenge. Do you want to talk about those?
When I got tagged in both of those, basically what I was focusing on for my message was not so much anything that was like down or condescending or focused specifically on just one person. I wanted something that could basically connect to all movements and basically anybody who was a human being. I wanted to focus on, okay, this is a message that can apply to everybody, and it was more of trying to show that when we give a message to a certain group that we also need to look at ourselves when we're giving that message, which is what my message to anti-feminists was a lot about, because I was looking at things that I had done in the past and how easy it was to fall into these various sort of thought traps and go, okay, I'm going to set everybody up as a single group. You're all the same person. So therefore, I'm going to just lump you in because you might share the same view as somebody else.
Yeah, I think your message to anti-feminists was don't generalize feminists, and I forgot your message to feminists.
My message to feminists was to actually listen to people and other ideas. Basically, don't just disregard somebody because they are, say, an MRA or a member of the manosphere, a MGTOW, whatever label they wish to be. It's don't judge people on their labels, judge them on their merits and who they are. And the biggest reason for that is I've noticed that a lot of feminists are real quick to just brush off somebody who has a label or takes on the label of, say, men's rights activist or pickup artist or whatever label they choose to have, instead of actually talking to them. And when I did that myself, when I stopped looking at the labels, I started realizing just how similar my views were to people who were supposed to basically be my enemies.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you defend Sargon. I mean, and I was really surprised. That was the very first video I've ever seen of you. Like, I think Sargon shared it on Twitter, and I clicked on it, and I was like, wow, you're defending Sargon.
Basically, even as I've tried saying, even though I don't agree with somebody, they still deserve the right to say what they wish. And at the same time, they have to be willing to take the repercussions of whatever they say. Kind of like somebody walking into a crowded theater and shouting fire. They're fine to do that, but they need to accept the repercussions of what's about to happen afterwards. And that's what I was trying to get across in my video. And also that we need to, when we report on things, we need to report the truth instead of just what is going to get the most views, what's going to be sensational. Because we can destroy somebody just by a lie or by being a sensationalist.
I don't think that the media cares about destroying other people's lives. They lie all the time.
Yeah, it's wishful thinking on my part.
Yeah. Um, uh, man, I lost my track, so let me just put up a list here. Oh, by the way, I've seen your video, domestic violence, where you talk about how 40 percent of men suffer from domestic violence, and you try to talk about it, and you had links in the description, and you were trying to raise awareness of it. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that one actually came about because aside, I before I came out as a trans man and I was living as a woman, I was the victim myself of some pretty severe domestic violence from more than one partner. And so I started kind of looking into it. And then a friend of mine who has been very close for very many years, I was talking to them and they were describing the exact same things that had happened to them by their partner. And I was like, but you're a guy. Guys aren't supposed to get abused, because I had been basically told guys were the abuser type thing. And he said, no, my partner did all these different things to me. And I just went, holy shit, and started going, well, what are the resources for you? And he said, none really. I just have to deal with it. And I honestly didn't believe him at first. So I went out and looked. And sure enough, almost every resource was for women. And and then I saw a video by the Mankind Initiative of basically the same situation, but reversed, where the woman was getting beat up initially. She was being abused in public, and people rushed to defend the woman. And then when it happened to the guy, people were just kind of standing there and laughing. And it had been described in my sociology classes about the masculinity principles and different things like that. And I'd heard feminists talking about it as well. And when they talked about the patriarchy and how it was harming men, I was like, well, let's find out what resources we have available. Let's get the word out. And that's why I went and I looked. I tried to find the resources that I could and get them where I could and post them up and try to get the word out. Because in my area, almost all of the flyers speak only to women. And the options were, if you are abused or if your friend is being abused, what do you tell her? And how do you talk to a man who is abusive? And I'm going, well, where's the other options? And they're like a tiny chunk on the website, but there aren't any flyers. So I just felt I need to get the word out. We need to get awareness out that there's almost, as it is, 40% of men are abuse victims. They usually keep it to themselves. They don't report it. It's the same with male rape victims. They don't report it because of the stigma against them and things like that. And also, they don't know that they have resources available to them. So they just kind of bottle it up over and over and over. And if it progresses too much, from some of the studies that I had read, they themselves can wind up turning into an abuser because of all the abuse they've suffered.
Wow, you really did your research. Um, anyway, what led you to feminism?
Um, what I'm still trying to figure out why I decided to do the speech topic that I did, but I did when I was 12 years old, so in seventh grade. I took part in a speech competition where we were supposed to pick a topic, and I, for whatever reason, picked the topic of rape. I, to this day, don't know why I picked it. And so I was doing research on it, and around the same time, my best male friend, who I actually had a huge crush on him. Dropped out of school basically, and I come to find out that he had been raped by his babysitter and her boyfriend, and that's why he had dropped out of school, was he was moved out of the area. And I'd been doing the research and I wasn't finding anything on male victims or resources for male victims, except for when it came to things like prison. And I had heard in movies and whatnot, like when I overheard them after I was supposed to be in bed and I wasn't, like the rape jokes in prison, things like that. I was like, something's not right here. If women can be raped, so can men. And so I did my speech, and my speech focused more on the fact that a rape victim is generally viewed as guilty until proven innocent. But it got me into studying, and then I learned about some feminists in the area who were a little bit older than me. They were high school, and I got some material. I started learning. They pointed me in the direction of certain things, and I saw that you could fight for both men and women. And so it was really the male rape victim thing that got me started on my path to research, which then led me to feminism, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes, it does make plenty of sense. So you are a trans man, you say. How's your transitioning going? Going well?
I'm actually fighting with the insurance right now and with mental health, because no place in my area that does gender therapy accepts my insurance, and I'm currently waiting for my disability trial because of some severe mental problems that I've got that keep me from working. So I don't have the income to go and pay cash out of hand to get a therapist to just write a note saying you can begin your transition. I've lived as a guy since 2014. August of 2014 is when I came out. I've been, unless I have to, pretty much dressing like a guy, acting like a guy, talking like a guy, apparently. And the only thing holding me back right now is that note from a gender therapist. Because once I get that, then I can start on, basically, we can't start hormones for me because of my mental conditions being as they are, but I can go and get like the surgery, get the breast mastectomy surgery and some of the more masculinizing surgeries, things like that, will be available to me once I get this letter.
Um, can you explain what you mean by talking like a guy? I never really noticed that language was gendered, at least English.
Yeah, it's basically, from the best way to put it is, there's the tonal inferences, there's certain conversation topics that, as a woman, I was trained, don't talk about those aren't proper, those you shouldn't talk about. But as a guy, it's okay to talk about them and have conversations on them using more masculine words, as weird as that sounds. And when having a conversation, having it be more a conversational competition than just a back and forth, hey, how are you doing? How's this type of conversation? It eventually winds up being sort of a little competition type thing, bragging, I guess you could say, to where it's like, oh, I'm having this horrible day, my gut's sticking so far out, and you kind of look over, oh yeah, well, my gut sticks out this much further, back and forth type thing. Just playful competition.
Oh, yeah, because I haven't really noticed that girls and guys talk all that much different. At least here in America, I noticed that in Japan and certain other countries, there's masculine speech and feminine speech, even though like uh how do you put it? Standard Japanese is actually gender neutral. However, it's kind of like when you go to social talk, there is masculine Japanese and there's feminine Japanese, but that's not part of standard Japanese. That's what people picked for themselves.
Yeah, my dad actually talked about that when I was younger because he learned Japanese from a woman, and that was back when it was really divided. So he learned all the feminine forms. And when my mom lived in Japan, she also pointed out what you did. There's kind of the standard, and then there's the masculine and feminine that exist. In the US, I think it's more just the subjects that are considered taboo and which subjects, like with guys, you don't talk emotion, but with girls, it's okay to talk emotion. Guys, you talk about who you beat up last week. Girls, you wouldn't even talk about violence. That sort of societal expectation.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I haven't really noticed because I've been in feminine places like Tumblr and those girly websites like Life Journal, and it was filled with drama, and it had so much drama there that I started gaming, and I played Neverwinter, and I played Neverwinter, Rift, and whatnot. And many of those people had no idea that I was a woman. Apparently, I blended in too well, but like I was talking to people, and I was like, no, no, I'm a woman. I'm actually a woman. I mean, I could go on voice chat. I'm really a woman. Those,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty common in gaming for that to happen. Like for me, I almost always play a male character, and in one game I played Blade and Soul, this one guy got on me because he's like, "So you got to be a chick since you're playing a dude," and I'm like, "No, I'm a guy." "You're a guy playing a dude? Are you gay or something?" And I just went, "Yeah," and it like threw him off because he was expecting a fight back or something like that. And I'm a gay trans man who's playing a male character because I like looking at guys. Okay. But when I play a female character, if I don't have like the giant boobs out and stuff like that, then everybody goes, "Oh, you're a woman playing because you have a conservative avatar." I'm going, "No, I just don't like tits that are going to cause me to trip and fall and die."
Yeah, me, I'm a woman, but even though I'm a woman, I like playing a female character because I try to get my character to look as close to myself as possible. Like, I pick my skin tone if it's available. Sometimes my skin tone is not available, but I try to pick my skin, my hair. I try to get my character to look as close to identical to me as possible. And I don't really get looking at the character because I'm not looking at my character. I try to get my character to look like me. Then I'm looking at the screen the whole entire time. I'm trying to fight the boss. I'm trying to stay alive. I don't have time to look at my character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the joke that a few of my friends have made is you make the type of character whose butt you want to stare at when you're playing an online game, and that's mostly my male friends that game with me say that sort of thing.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. Like, I just don't want to be staring at a man's butts all day. When me, I have a female character because I'm a female, and it's kind of like I'm not looking at her butts. I'm looking at the balls. I mean, it would be like really stupid to look at my character's butts when the boss has to die. I just like zoom out like really far so I could just gets a better look at the boss at the bosses I have to fight. And I'm also focusing on teamwork. You know, sometimes you got people who are not good at teamwork, so you can't fight the boss. But sometimes you have people who are very good at teamwork. And I forgot what it's called, but there's this like really fun PvP world in Red. Too bad like Red went south, but back when Red was still moderately active and it was somewhat fun to play, they had this really fun PvP world. I really just cannot be bothered to stare at my character. I just got to focus on keeping my character alive as possible and be on the lookout at chats to look for any instructions to see what the group is going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I play, I mostly am a solo player. I like to play on my own or with people that I personally know. And so I kind of shy away from groups that or games that force you to group, which sadly is almost every single one of them these days. Uh, and actually, with video games, my husband proposed to me through a video game. And when we got married, the co-leader of the guild that we were part of was actually our best man.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. The co-leader of your guild was your best man.
Mm-hmm. That was the last thing I had said.
Yeah. So you're not interested in PvP at all?
I learned that PvP brings out the worst side of me, sadly, and so I try my best to avoid it. Blade and Soul was one of those games where PvP was really big. They tried to push the whole PvP aspect, especially towards the end of the game, where if you wanted to get your equipment up or you wanted to do anything, you had to PvP. And it was very unbalanced because they had factions, and we used to joke that playing in the faction that I was in was playing the game on hard mode because you would just get beat the crap out. People would just beat the crap out of you if you were wearing your faction uniform to do your dailies. And I realized that I started getting really mean. I started getting really nasty. I started getting kind of like those people that you see on the cringe videos screaming at their computer screen and things like that. And I was like, no, this is not who I am. I shouldn't be acting like this. And so I actually quit the game, realizing just how bad I was becoming, and went back to games like Guild Wars and Star Wars The Old Republic, where I didn't have to PvP and I could just enjoy the storyline and the environment, which is my Monday morning blasphemies. I basically record them over me playing on a video game.
Yeah, PvP can bring out the absolute worst in some people. Like there are people who would rage quit on you. There are people who just be so, I mean, they could be normally nice, but they could be so mean-spirited and hateful in PvP that it just makes me go, and it makes me and some of my friends go, it's just a game. And it's like, well, if you think it's just a game, then I don't know why you're even playing it. You shouldn't even be here if you think it's just a game. And I'm like, and I'm like, okay, chill out, bro.
That's how it was on Blade and Soul. It was just, if you were there as a casual player, you didn't deserve to be there. If you happened to anger a certain group or a certain guild, they would actually put out a bounty on you, and people would follow you around to make sure that you couldn't actually play. They would kill off whoever you were trying to kill. They would wait until you got into your PvP, the faction outfit, and they would just repeatedly kill you so that they could collect the bounty. And my darling husband managed to get his bounty up to 2 gold, and gold was extremely difficult to get in that game. Like daily, you could get maybe 7 gold if you didn't have the high-end gear. So you just happened to piss off enough people, and eventually I did the exact same, and I was like, guys, we're trying to play a game. We're having fun. It's this. It's not a game. It's just, I'm sitting there going, and I'm done, because you're a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds, which I found out was true because I got on voice chat, and you're calling me old and all these things because I'm less than 10 years older than a couple of you, and about 14 years, 16 years older than the others. I was gaming when you were still in diapers. And it was just, all of a sudden I started feeling, get off my lawn! Out of my games!
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad I never played that game. I'm really, really happy I never played that game. But for me, there be people in their 30s and 40s rage quitting. It's not. I mean, when I was playing Rift, I didn't see that many 16-year-olds and whatnots, but there would be like people in their 30s and 40s acting like that. There's even like this one guy who was like in his 60s who's like carrying on like that. It's not just teenagers, and it really is like what do you mean it's just a game? What do you mean it's just a game? If you really think it's just a game, then you shouldn't be playing it. I mean, that's the reason why I just couldn't play PvP at all in Neverwinter. PvP players are several times worse. At least in Rift, in PvP, people hardly ever talk to you. You know, and that does what make PvP fun in Red. People just hardly ever talk to you, but it's kind of like it is indeed just a game. It's like, do these people even have lives outside of the game that they're playing? And it makes me feel like outside the game, they probably are lifeless. You know, their lives probably surrounds the game, and there's probably nothing more to their lives, because I mean, games are supposed to be fun. Games are supposed to be pleasurable. Like this is one time, this one was in Neverwinter. I was in a guild, and it was a really small guild, and we all decided to PvP together. And we all lost, but because they're so nice, kind, pleasant, and easygoing, we had fun as some other group kicked our asses. And I mean, we eventually won some. I mean, because of the game's algorithm, the more you play, the more likely you are to win. So yes, we did win some for dailies or weeklies or whatever. But I mean, when you're in a nice, kind, friendly group like the group I was in, I mean, losing could be so much fun. I mean, it's not the losing that is fun, but it's being around people who are in good humor. They're nice, they're kind, they're pleasant, that you don't even care that you've lost. It's like, you know, fuck, so what, I lost. These people are a lot of fun, and I'm having a great time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was when I first played, I was playing a game called City of Heroes, and a friend of both my husband, he actually was running 12 paid accounts at one time, and that was so he could get his super group, which was the guild. He could get that all up and huge, and his character was huge and everything. And I remember when City of Heroes was shut down, it was like you just saw a chunk of this guy break off because that game was so much of his life. Even though he had a life outside of the game itself was just a huge portion for him.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine that there are people who don't really have lives outside the games that they're playing, and it's really sad and unfortunate.
Yeah, especially if one of those games gets shut down, it can make or break a person.
You know, like what annoys me in like free to play games is how you've got those people who are paid to win and they are constantly insulting the free to play players. It's kind of like, oh, you're free to play, and I mean, I forget the terminology that they use, but it's kind of like if you are free to play, then you shouldn't even be playing this game. When really the free to play players, they actually do buy some stuff here and there. They just don't do the whole monthly fee thing. They just, spend like $5 here, $10 there, $15 here. They just don't do what people who play regular the pay to win people who do the regular pay.
Hmm. Yeah, that it's basically it's elitism amongst the gamers. You can also see it amongst people who have in games where you don't have to have a subscription. You can see the elitism in I have this super awesome gear, you're the same level as me, you don't have the same gear, therefore you are worthless scum. Or the most common thing that I dealt with in Blade and Soul was we'd be in the middle of a high level dungeon and we're not killing the end boss fast enough. So they would just quit in the middle of it. And if they had stuck with us, we would have won. But they quit, and so we all died. Then everybody gets angry, and then they all quit, and you're left standing there going, okay, group finder again, let's go. And you can spend like 3 hours just trying to complete a single dungeon because your group doesn't move fast enough or it's not got good enough gear or something like that. It's like, it's a game, let's have fun. It's not a business. You're not being paid to do this as a job.
Oh my fucking God, I dealt with that so many times in Neverwinter, where it's kind of like there were people who would disband if you don't go through a dungeon fast enough. It's like, well, it's not fast enough, so we're all quitting. Or it's kind of a lot like, people really would nitpick on the gear you wear. It's like, oh my God, guys, oh my God, he is wearing greens. Listen, I'm sorry, I recently got to level 60, okay? I recently got here, okay? That's why my gear is green. And it's kind of a lot like when I had a bunch of different characters in Neverwinter. What I mean is like I had like 5 tunes or like 4 tunes, whatever. I have actually, guided a group through a dungeon. When I say a group, I mean like there was like 4 clerics and 1 ranger. And for me, I would just, this was like my advertisement. Well, not advertisements, but I went on chats to try to find people, and I was just like, look, I don't care. The only thing I care about is that you're a nice person. So it's kind of like looking for nice people to do this dungeon for me. I don't care about anything else. Just be a nice person. So I got a bunch of nice people, and they were so friendly. 4 clerics, 1 ranger, and I've guided them through the dungeon. I've gave them instructions, and it was the Temple of Spider dungeon. We succeeded, and we also had shitty gear. We had all of us had like green gear and whatnot, but guess what? We've all succeeded. We've all won. I mean, under my instructions, but yeah, we've all won, and it's kind of like I've noticed that, especially at the last part, my group was having trouble at the last part, so I was kind of a lot like I gave some everybody instructions. Like I was like ranger on balls, and the rest of us would be on ass, and we would heal him whenever he needs healing. But we're just gonna let him do the balls because he's the strongest of all of us. And I think I was kind of like saying I think I had one person get the boss on front, and so that the ranger could get the boss from behind, so that because when you get the boss from behind, it seems like it dies quicker. But anyway, we've managed to all get a little treasure at the end. It was a lot of fun. But it's kind of like when you get a group of nice people, you can't just, you will succeed. And you will get a little treasure at the end.
Yeah, because there's in some games I've seen where like Blade and Soul, instead of how it's round robin or the gear just randomly drops, you bid on certain items. And people have dropped out of dungeons because people weren't bidding enough, so they weren't making enough money running through it. And I was like, how do you expect people to be able to play at your level if you're going to do this? And they just didn't listen because they weren't making money, so they quit.
And there would be people who would lose their shits if you click need instead of greed. You know, it's kind of like when it comes to me, I don't care if people click need or greed. For me, because it's kind of like whether it's myself or somebody else, it could be some guy I don't know. Like I'll be in a group and say, "Oh my goodness, this person they click agree." Everybody, or it was they click need. They hated when you click need. Like this person click need. Like I forgot who's the person's name, so I'm gonna click the name for him. I'm gonna call him Charles. Charles click the need. Charles click need, and they'll just go on, and it would be like an hour later. It would like literally be an hour later. And it'll still go on and on and on. That one person clicked on a need instead of read, and I'm like, who cares? Like, who the fuck cares? I mean, it's kind of a lot like, and it wouldn't even be the best that there is anyway. You know, like there really would be far better for those we still losing their shit that somebody click need. And I was like, I'm just gonna click need on this item. I don't really need need. I'm just really sick and tired of this person whining that people are clicking need. So I just clicked need on something that I didn't care about just to, annoy him even further because it was just really ridiculous. I don't care if people click need or greed. It's just, who cares?
Yeah, I know in some of the dungeons I'd get upset if people were just clicking need or were intentionally outbidding, but that was because they were just doing it to be basically an asshole. And like some of the stuff, you can only use it on that one character, and they're going, "Oh, I'm going to use it for my alt. I'm going to use it for my alt." Dude, you can't trade it. Well, I'll salvage it. I could really use that piece of gear, buddy. Well, then outbid me. You got like 700 gold, and you've got 80 silver. It's like, okay, you're a douchebag.
Yeah, I never played Golden Soul. That's kind of a lot like for me. I don't really care if people click need or greed. For me, I never cared. But when I click need, I actually needed those items because again, people would get on my ass for having a green gear. They're like, "Oh, you're wearing green, so green." So I would click need on the purples so I don't have to be wearing green anymore, so that people will not harass me about my gear. Oh my goodness, I can't believe you clicked me. Well, I'm trying to get better gear. How is it that you could simultaneously complaining that I'm wearing green, and then when I click need on the purple to get better gear, you're mad that I'm trying to upgrade my gear? That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I never figured that one out. I was like, wait, you're getting on me for something that if you had allowed me to get it, I would have been able to survive, and now you're mad that I'm dead. Okay, I'm gonna go over here and wait until you're a little bit less crazy.
Yeah, because in Neverwinter, Neverwinter in Red differently. Now, if you're in Neverwinter, you can salvage purples and get lots of astral diamonds for a purple. I mean, and you can get like really cool, amazing gear and shits with astral diamonds. But Rift is very, very different. If you click need for better gear, it would bind to your tune. You won't be able to sell it. You can salvage it, but once when you click need, you cannot sell it. It's yours forever. You could only salvage it or um or delete it. That's it. And I think that's why there was less drama in Rift as opposed to Neverwinter, because you can't even pay for you won't get anything special for having um purple gear anyway, except to upgrade your tune. So people were less douchey there than in Rift. And I think it's because actually Rift Neverwinter really was free to play, because you could either pay for Astro Diamonds, like you could just spend cold hard cash to get Astro Diamonds, or you could salvage purple for Astro Diamonds. Rift was totally different. You would have to pay for you would have to pay for a Rex, and if you pay for a Rex, you could just buy a bunch of things, but there, you can't salvage for a Rex. The only thing you could really do is to do dungeons, do PvP, and collect a bunch of gold and platinums for a Rex. And there are people who would buy a Rex and then they'll sell a Rex in the auction house. And so you would just have to pay for a Rex in the auction house. Or
Yeah,
have someone in your guild to give you a Rex for a really cheap price.
yeah, one of the big things that was in Blade and Soul was that you couldn't salvage like equipment and whatnot. Well, you could salvage equipment, but you couldn't salvage, say, your gear, your costumes and whatnot, because it wasn't gear driven, like you had to wear certain pieces of armor. So you had different clothing items that were costumes that you could get in drops, and you couldn't salvage them, you couldn't get rid of them, and they were bound to a single character. And some of them actually really irritated me because they were bound not by race but by the sex. So if you had a male character and you got the drop for the female character, you couldn't send it over to your female character. And then I got to thinking, wait a second, my character would look really sexy in this outfit. Why can't I wear it? Where's my sexy costumes for my man? I'm hearing all over the place people bitching about the female costumes and, oh my God, they're sexist. And, oh, look at this costume. It's so revealing. It's so horrible. And I'm like, yeah, it's revealing. It's kind of skimpy, and I wouldn't be caught dead wearing that, and I'd be really upset if my kid wore it. But where's the stuff for my guy characters? Why is my guy covered from like neck down while the female characters are running around in Princess Jasmine outfit? Where's I actually did a thing. Where's my slutty costumes? And oh, did I piss off some of the feminists?
Yeah, I don't really get that either. I guess it's because there are specifically targeting men for video games. That's why men it tends to be covered from head to toe, and the only thing you can see from a man is their eyes, if even that. Men are really just buried in garments, whereas women are in lingerie, basically, like in ribbed. Whenever I get garments, I'm pretty much stuck in booty shorts. Well, I mean, there are some real close there here and there, but I get some booty shorts here and there. I get, things that show my characters. I mean, sometimes I get bras, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those ones are fun.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, men could always they can make their armor invisible and go shirtless, where they still keep the strength of their costume or the strength of their armor, but they could go to the visual section and set it to invisible and go around shirtless if they want. But of course, I mean, if you're gay and you're sexually attracted to men and you don't really care for women, it's kind of like, wouldn't you rather see men shirtless and bare? And, it's kind of like, but they just have it so that women get these skimpy clothes, and men, they are just, men, I mean, their clothes could be just so, it's like they're really covered from head to toe. It's like a Puritan era. I mean, it's very, very Puritan. Like, some costumes, you can't even see their eyes. It really is just, they're just completely covered.
Yeah, and I mean, it's even in Guild Wars has it pretty bad as well, and it's a gear-driven game. And it's like the male costume, full coverage. Female costume is a skimpy little skirt that shows off her booty, and she has a garter belt. I'm going, the guy's is a pair of really nice looking pants, and this is a skirt and a garter belt. Okay. But it's actually one of the reasons why I miss City of Heroes, which was, I'll say I got spoiled on it, because it was 100% customization. It wasn't gear driven. It basically, you picked out your powers and you set up how you wanted to do it with various, not items, but they were enhancements that you could craft or you could buy for pretty cheap, or you got them running different missions. But your costume was literally just that. You could design anything you wanted. And aside from a couple things that were linked to female only, like the skirts, I mean, the guy's got a kilt, but that's not the same. Aside from that, those couple things, you got the same outfit that you would get on a female as you would on a male, and you could have 100% customization. And you usually you could buy up to 10 costume slots. So somebody like me, who refers to themselves as a costume whore, is going out there like collecting everything possible for the costumes and being able to enjoy the game, while my friend with his 12 accounts is enjoying the game by whatever he was doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would like something like that in games where you just could just customize your own costumes, because it's kind of like they don't consider gay guys and straight girls, like gay guys in games, doesn't exist. Gay guys would rather just cut hair in a salon. Gay guys don't play video games. And really, I'm pretty sure that there are gay guys who would like to see, guys bare chested or guys wearing, a little bit of this or a little bit of that. It's kind of like,
Yeah, and also one of the issues with gaming that I've seen is like it's a PS3 and PS4 game called Tales of Zestiria. And it has a bromance between the two lead characters where it's if you actually played, it's obviously not a romance. They're just really close. They were raised kind of like brothers type thing. So they're really close, and yet they act somewhat, in some cases, like lovers, like the little lovers' quarrels. And people just went out and was like, it's the first openly homosexual main character. Ah! And I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's go check out the game. And I play the game, and I'm like, no, this guy's not gay, because he's sure as hell hitting on all these females. And it's like if you put a character in to try and be more inclusive for, say, the homosexual gamers or the lesbian gamers or the transgender gamers, you get all these people getting so butthurt. It's like, oh my God, you're just doing this so you can be politically correct and score virtue points. It's like, no, we're expanding stuff. We're doing something so that we're more inclusive. We're putting actual types of people in the game instead of just this little idea. And I can't remember what, I think it wasn't Neverwinter. It was one of the D&D games, D&D based games, where they had a transgender character show up. And everybody was getting angry because, oh my God, it's a trans character. And I went and I looked it up, and the person was wearing basically a cursed item that came out of D&D. I'm like, this has been around since the 90s, you guys. This has been around for a long time. This isn't just, we're throwing it in here to do this and to virtue signal and whatever term they want to use. It's like, this is like for the lore buffs. This is for the people who have played the game, that they'll know, oh, hey, this is actually a cursed item that 50% of the time doesn't work, or it turns you to have no sex at all. It doesn't like magically flip your gender. It's, you took a massive risk putting this on. And I was just like, wait, people are getting ass hurt over something that they haven't researched? Oh my God.
Yeah, shock. Yeah. See, I just wish that gaming would borrow a little bit of what's it called? I am a VE. I think it's called I am VE. It's it's not really a game. It's really a 3D chat, but it's where you can pick how you look like. And not only can you pick how you look like, you can pick your skin, you can pick your hair, you can pick your eyes, and like you could pick any clothes you want. I mean, and I think that the guys have the same options, because I did make a guy character once, but I prefer being a girl because I am a girl. Funny how that works, because there are guys who be girls because they want to look at girls' bodies. But for me, I just want to be the sex that I'm actually am. But it's kind of like, it's what I like about IMVE. It's like you could really customize your clothes. Not only that, but the players. I think the players make the clothes. It really is players making the clothes. So there was like a wide options in its sets to popularity too. So you could really have anything you want. And I think something like that would be nice in gaming, where guys could really just customize their clothes. So could girls. Like, if girls wanted to wear, if girls want to be more covered up, then they'll have that option. And if there's a gay guy who would want to see sexy, body, he could just, or if a guy wants to be humorous, I mean, maybe a guy would want to wear a dress, not because he's transgender, but for a joke, to show a sense of humor.
Yeah. Or in some cases where they just want to have fun or do something fun, have an extra costume, or be able to actually have a character look like you. For me, when I do my avatars, it's basically how I wish I looked versus how I look, which is one of the reasons why I play the males, is I can actually look at what I wish I could look like, if that makes sense. And so I can basically enjoy being a guy, and it lets me live vicariously, if you want to say that, through my avatar to help with my dysphoria and my body issues. I'm looking at that and I'm not focusing on the fact that I've still got breasts or I've still got women's hips, things like that. I'm able to look at the avatar and go, hey, this is me right now.
Yeah, I could totally see where you're coming from, though I'm comfortable in the gender I was born in, but I could still see where you're coming from, because when I was new to MMORPG, when I was new, I was kind of like, why are you a girl when you are playing when you are born a guy? It's like, are you transgender? It's like, no, I'm not transgender, I'm not trans. I was just like looking at the girls' butts, and that never really clicked with me, because I like being a girl because I am a girl, and I guess it's narcissism. I don't know, but I try to get my character to look as close to me as possible. Like, I try to get all the details right itself. And never once my character was an elf. But other than that, it's kind of like my character looked at you. You could see, like, if you've seen my character, I think I actually do have a picture of my character somewhere, but my character, you can really see that if you looked at the options available at the time, you can really see that I tried to get my character to look as identical towards me as possible. Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm sorry, I muted myself because I had to sneeze.
Yeah. Oh, I hope you haven't caught a cold.
No, I have allergies, and every time a certain plant comes into bloom, my allergies come back with like hatred.
Yes, I'm also an allergy sufferer as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice to meet some other person who loves gaming. I mean, it is really, really nice to meet somebody I could talk about gaming with, because I haven't really when doing these live streams, I never really get to talk about gaming with anybody else except for you. You're my first.
Uh, gaming's pretty much the way that I deal with a lot of my issues. So yeah, I'm always going to be a gamer, and uh, basically it's like, what do you do when you get up? If I don't have anything planned for the day, I'm gonna go through my daily routine of dress, shower, all that fun stuff, make sure everything's fed, make sure all my animals are fed, and I'm gonna game because I can communicate with my friends who live on the other side of the world right now. I can escape from the heat, so to speak, because I can just kind of zone into wherever I'm gaming, and I'm not standing outside in the middle of the sun or whatever you want to say. And also, it allows me to spend time with my husband because we'll sit there and game together. And it's something that we can do that doesn't cost us a lot of money or make us have to leave the house, since both of us deal with some pretty bad agoraphobia. So we're like, okay, we've got something that we can do. Yay! And if we get angry at each other, we just PvP it out until we feel better. So we don't have actual domestic violence fights or anything.
Yeah, just PvP it out with your husband, but it would be bad if one of you had much better gear than the other.
Yeah, thankfully we don't have to worry about that, because we basically we have the same level PvP gear because we never PvP. And so all we ever have is our environment gear, and we're like, yeah, let's do it, let's go. And it just gets down to who knows their character better. And sometimes I'll win, sometimes he wins, and sometimes the cat shuts the power off.
Yeah, yeah. For me, when I try to unwind, sometimes I read books here and there because it's a way to get me to shut my mind off. Just read the words, and you can get so engrossed in the book, and I don't know. It's like you're actually in the book. I know it sounds strange, but I mean, you read and it really does feel like you're actually in the book, and it's kind of like you're getting to know the characters, and it feels like you actually know the characters, and it's kind of like it does take your mind off the problems.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, I used to do that before I had video games and everything. That was my main way of, as my parents called it, and the psychiatrist called it, it was my escapism, was books. And in my videos where you actually see me recording, there's stacks of books next to me because I've constantly got a to-read list that's just giant. And I really love the books where I can actually empathize with the characters, and I can sit there and go, oh, hey, this actually seems like a realistic person. They're not just a cardboard cutout. I can enjoy actually seeing what happens to them. I'll feel sad for them if something goes wrong. I feel angry when they're dealing with injustice, and I'll be really upset if they get killed off, which is why I don't read the Game of Thrones series, because that's like playing Russian roulette with your books. And at one point, it's actually why I started, of all things, writing down my my role-playing sessions and things like that. And I wrote them down and expanded on them into, in the first case, it was a Vampire the Masquerade, the tabletop game. It was not a fan fiction because there wasn't like original, they were all original characters. There wasn't any of the cardboard NPC characters. So I wouldn't call it a fan fiction, but it's classified as fan fiction. And then I started writing actual fan fiction, which I go back to now and go, how the hell was I writing 10 pages, like 8.5 by 11 pages per chapter? How did I do this? And eventually I wrote 2 original novels that were based off of a game that I played. It was back before you had the MMOs. They were MUDs, which was the multi-user dungeons. It was all text-based, and you basically had to use your imagination to figure out what somebody looked like. And I wound up writing 2 books as an actual way to escape the domestic abuse that I was dealing with at the time from my ex-husband. And my current husband jokes that the reason I haven't finished the third book is he doesn't abuse me enough, so I'm not depressed enough to write. And I laugh at it, and at the same time I go, no, it's more because I'm filled with crippling and crushing doubt. But yeah, books are one of my favorite ways to just escape from everything, even if it's writing my own book. And my cat has woken up. Where'd you go, Captain Flint?
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you were abused. But when it comes to escapism, I think everybody engages in escapism. Like, you know, there was a time when everybody read the newspaper and they would shut other people out by reading the newspaper, and they would use the newspaper to shut people out. And then there's television, and people will watch television and ignore other people, just watch TV. Now the internet's here, and people are ignoring other people and escaping through television. There's movies, everybody engages in escapism because people can be so obnoxious assholes that act like small children. And it's like, you know what? I do not have time to deal with you and your childish behavior. You are acting like a small child. I have no time to deal with this. I am going to go out and I'm going to do something fun. And I read books because books are cheaper. Not only are books cheaper, but books have no commercials. Like I could go to Amazon. I could buy the book. The book itself would be like a penny, but I'll pay for shipping and handling, which would total to be like $4. But it'll still be cheaper than TV and whatnot. So it's still cheaper than going out to the movies. So in the end, I'm saving money. And if it's well rented, if it's poorly written, I just oh, well, this probably sounds bad, but if it's poorly written, I just donate it to the church. But if it's like really well written, it's like wow, because it feels like you're in the book. It feels like you're in the book. You can empathize with the characters. If something bad happens to them, it's like, oh my goodness, what's going to go on? Please survive. How are you going to make it through this? How? It's kind of like when they're lost, you're like, oh my goodness, I hope something great happens. And it's kind of like sometimes you wish that real life people could act like some of these characters, because people in real life could be so annoying and obnoxious, and the characters in the book can be so pleasant. They would just do everything they could to save a person in their empire, and it's kind of like, you had this person in this book who's trying to save a person in their empire. You have really annoying, obnoxious people over you just internet's real life. You just have so many annoying people to deal with. It's kind of not like, why are you so annoying? Why?
Yeah, and that's a joke that a lot of times you'll see by authors is, keep talking, I'm writing you into my next novel. And it's actually how I dealt with one person. Is I couldn't do anything to them in real life, so I devised all sorts of things and wrote it down as a story. Person never died, but their life sure as hell sucked.
Yeah. That is good revenge. I'm just gonna write it to my next novel. That would explain why, when you read a book, why some characters could be so annoying and obnoxious, and you just sit there wishing that this character would just die. I'm just like reading as some characters like, please die. I just hope that your neck gets broken. And it's like, the character would keep on living, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, because I know that people in real life could be such a huge pain, like crazy ass coworkers. It's kind of like, oh, this person's giving me so much stress.
That's basically how I know some writers actually do that as their way of stress relief or dealing with something is they'll just make a character or they'll deal with it in their own way, generally by writing about somebody. Um, I just lost my train of thought.
You're,
It's
you're saying like they would generally write about somebody, its way of stress relief.
mm-hmm. Basically having to deal with a really stressful, say, boss or something, and you can't say what you want to say, but you can make two imaginary characters and you can act out the scenario not so much in your head anymore, but on paper, so it'll get out of your head. Let's see. I know Stephen King, his horror novels, those are all nightmares that he's had. And what he'd do is he would write them down so he wouldn't have the nightmare anymore. Now we all have the nightmares because of it.
Yeah, I do. I do keep a dream journal, and I would write down some dreams I have. Some of my dreams are very strange and odd, and some of my dreams are smut.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
like
then there's the ones that are just really odd and smut at the same time, and you're just going, the heck did I eat?
yeah. It's weird too having those weird dreams, and it's like, why did I dream of that? It's so odd and strange. It would be really hard to. It would be hard to write down because it would be so peculiar. It's like it's so strange. How would I even write it down? And I don't even know how I end up having it. Though I've had many dreams where I'm inside Mario, Nintendo 64. Back when that was popular, I would just dream that I'm inside Nintendo 64. Sometimes I'm fighting the boss Bowser's, and sometimes I'm with other people fighting the boss Bowser's. Yeah, like we're all teamed up to fight him. But he never dies in my dreams. It's like we're fighting him, but we don't die, and he doesn't die. It's just that we start fighting him, and then I wake up.
Yeah, that's too many video games. It's the destroying the world around us. Yeah, that's totally it. I have way
Yeah,
too many people saying that one. It's video games. You are playing too many. That's why you're having those dreams. Or my brain's just dumping a whole bunch of knowledge all at once. That too.
yeah,
Huh.
because I had dreams where I'm inside Neverwinter World, or sometimes I'm dreaming that I'm inside the plane of water inside Rift, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm inside the plane of water. And it's kind of like I don't understand why Christians, and no offense, but I don't understand why some feminists attack gaming. There's nothing wrong with it, like nothing major.
I can understand some of the stuff that they will not I wouldn't yeah, some of them definitely attack it. Most of them comment about it because it happens so commonly that it does become a trope or a stereotype or even an expectation. And in some games, things are put in that are literally just to hurt somebody. And the term used in writing and in TV is it's called women in refrigerators. It's basically the female is taken hostage or she is badly hurt or she's beaten severely or she's killed for no other reason than to move the story on. she could have, you could have moved the story on just fine without using her, but basically you went the easy route. She served literally no purpose as a character except to further the usually male protagonist. I've seen it with female protagonists as well, men in refrigerators. And so it's usually they're commenting about certain things that have just become super, super common. And they're like, hey, guys, this is really unoriginal. This is being used all the time. This is coming to be expected from a game. You're no longer showing creativity. This is just like you reach over to the grab bag and go, let's pull this, 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 and this together to make a game. Those are the complaints that I usually hear when it comes to video games from feminists, but I also don't sit there and watch things like, oh, what's the one, the Anita Sarkeesian chick. I'm constantly accused, you're a feminist, so you obviously watch that. And I'm going, no, I don't, because my watch list is already big enough and I already know what she's going to talk about. I already deal with that stuff. I'm not going to sit there and use, like, I'm not going to go and dig for the most obscure reference possible, which was something that I was laughing at when she did her strategic butt coverings. That one, somebody actually sat me down to watch it. And she's using, was Batman and Catwoman. I'm saying, you're going, if you, dude, you worked way too hard on this. If you wanted to do strategic butt coverings and the fact that women tend to have their butts exposed and men tend to have theirs covered, go play an MMO for 5 minutes. Just go to the character creation screen. And there you go. There's your example. Instead, you had to play a video game, play X amount of hours to get access to this section, and then you forgot about this section over here. It's like, you worked way too freaking hard for that little tidbit that you gave. I'm going, if you want to give examples of this stuff, go play an MMO. It's right there. It's like you just walk over, you open the little present that says MMO of World of Warcraft or whatever, and it's just a self-opening pinata. It just goes, hi, all your examples right here. But nah, too easy. We're gonna go find the most obscure reference in the most obscure game out there.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about how you felt about Anita Sarkeesian, Francesca Ramsey, Lacey Green.
I have no clue who the second person is. I enjoyed watching Lacey Green when she was talking about the like the sex positive stuff and the education portions. I haven't watched her since she moved on to TV because I don't have TV, so I don't deal with it. A lot of her stuff teaching about sex was actually really useful for helping me with my girls, because they're not going to want to listen to their parents going, when a man loves a woman, or things like that. They're going to want to do something that's less awkward, that can be somewhat fun to listen to and watch. And so I'd have them watch her stuff on sex. And when I was trying to explain my gender to my husband, her video on how genders worked and everything like that was really useful to have him watch so that he could somewhat understand it, since I had a lot of trouble explaining it at the time. But I haven't watched any of her newer stuff, so it's been at least a year and a half since I've watched anything of hers. Anita Sarkeesian, I couldn't care less. She found a niche market. She talks about video games. She discusses topics that I may or may not agree with her on. Good for her. Have fun. That's basically my view. I mean, I don't think that she deserves a lot of the comments that she gets, but some people are gonna get so butthurt that they need some preparation Triple H for that ass pain that they're showing everybody. So, and the second person, as I said, I have no clue who that is.
Francesca Ramsey is the host of MTV Decoded. She talks about race a lot.
Now I know who it is. I've watched one video about her. And I was just like, eh. I went back to what I was doing. I didn't really feel like, yeah, I'm right behind you, or hey, great message. It was, okay, you've got some decent editing. It's a decent topic. And you're not really holding my interest. I'm gonna go over here now. But that's how it is for most YouTube personalities that I find. It's like, okay, I find you interesting on this subject, so I'll watch your videos on this subject, but when you talk about this, I'm out of here. I'll come back when you talk about this again. But yeah, with Francesca, I've watched one video of hers. It didn't really do anything for me, and I went, okay, so long as people don't use her as the example of all feminists are like this, I'm okay. She's a feminist. She has her own brand of feminism. I have my own brand. And we'll just be human together.
How do you feel about the radical feminists?
Some radical feminists I'm okay with because they're pretty down to earth. Others I'm just like, what got put in your coffee today? And then there's the ones that actually made me become vocal about being a feminist, which were the ones that said, basically, if you're a man, you can't be a feminist. And I had just come out as trans at that point. And I was at the Rainbow Club and we were discussing about something. And it was about trans rights, because that was back during the gay marriage debate. It was really big and everything. And we were talking about that and about feminism. And I talked about how I was trans, and she's like, wow, I would have never known. You pass really well. And I was like, I'm a trans man. Oh, well, you can be an ally. Like, her tone changed, everything. I was no longer allowed to be a feminist because of her. According to her, men couldn't be feminists. They could only be allies. And I was like, I lived over 30 years of my life as a woman. I've been pregnant. I've given birth. I've had a miscarriage. I've had an abortion. I've had a hysterectomy. I've had breast reduction. I've breastfed a child. I've dealt with rape, sexual abuse. I've dealt with domestic violence as a woman. I've dealt with all these things, and you're telling me suddenly that because I came out as a trans man, I can't be a feminist anymore and use my life experiences to better the lives of other people around me? Fuck you. And I went, okay, I'm tired of being silent about who I am, because I was completely silent about being a feminist. I saw what happened to some of the feminists on YouTube. I saw the comments if you use the word feminist over on Twitter. I saw the cesspool that is Tumblr feminism. I didn't want to be associated with that. And I saw what happened when I worked as a pro-choice advocate, when pro-lifers decided to basically dox me and shit. So I was afraid if that would happen as a feminist. But then this woman went and told me that I couldn't be a feminist anymore. And I went, fuck you, I'm going to become vocal now. I'm actually going to start discussing the issues that I feel need to be discussed. And I'm going to be out as a feminist. And then I discovered the TERFs, the trans exclusionary radical feminists. And those people are so much fun, especially when they come onto my channel to tell me things like, show me, what was the one man she's used? Show me one case where somebody changed their sexual chromosomes. You can't, haha. And I'm like, you realize that trans people know they're not going to change their chromosomes, right? You're not that stupid, right? And as somebody who studied sociology and psychology, I actually had a pretty good grasp of the history of gender, not like gender studies and stuff like that, but the fact that the concept of multiple genders has been around for hundreds of thousands of years type thing. And I tried explaining it, and I tried actually being cordial, and discovered, no, they're just going to fling shit, and the best you can do is just mute the conversation and move on. And then I discovered the sex worker exclusionary radical feminists when I came out saying that I was pro-sex worker rights. And those were, for anybody who's watched The Simpsons, it was Reverend Lovejoy's wife going, somebody please think of the children. Only it was, somebody please think of the women's. And it was like, these women who actually choose to be a sex worker, who choose to do something, you're saying they're too stupid to make their own choices and you have to make it for them. And yet you're turning around and with the other hand saying that you're fighting for equality and that all women have their rights and they deserve this and they deserve that. But these women over here who chose to be sex workers, you need to set them straight because they're too stupid. And dear God, never point out that there are male sex workers. Those are just pimps. No, there's male cam boys, there's male prostitutes, there's male strippers, there's all these. It's like, men do it too. Why are you freaking out? And suddenly I become an enemy of the women's. I'm going, okay, nope, we're done. You guys go over there. You go have your cookie and sit in the fucking corner. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to continue trying to work on fixing issues or bringing attention to issues that need to be brought attention to, like domestic violence, like rape victims' rights, like transgender rights, trans violence, things like that. And basically with those people, I just go, you guys are over there, you're the vocal minority, shut the hell up. You're ruining it for the rest of us. Because the majority of us as feminists, we don't go out there and broadcast like they do. And we kind of just do our work in the background, all this the sneaky, oh, we're behind the scenes type thing. We do it quietly and we don't pat ourselves on the back until it's done type thing. And because of that, people see the loud, vocal, angry feminist who hates on transgender people or who thinks that sex workers are nothing but women who are being abused and sold into sexual slavery, shit like that. And so people are judging all feminists based on those people. And it's just like, you guys are making my work so much fucking harder. And funny thing is that when I realized that I was doing the exact same thing to the non-feminists, such as the people who identified as MRAs. When we got rid of our labels, we realized, oh shit, we're fighting for the same stuff. Okay, let's work on the issue. And that's actually, as I said, the message to feminists thing in the very beginning. That's what started my message to feminists, was my realization of, oh shit, we're doing the exact same thing. we're fucking ourselves over and we're fucking them over. And they're doing the same thing on their side. Let's just try and reach across and work on the issues themselves.
May I ask you, why is it so, like, if there is so much diversity in the feminist group, if there are feminists who are against sex workers' rights, if there are feminists who are anti-trans, why is it so important to call yourself a feminist? Why have the label? Why not just be an individualist? Why not just promote yourself as an individual instead of having that label there when all of you are so diverse? And there's no way that any one particular feminist could speak for all feminists. Why not just come out for your principles as an individual? Why have the label?
Well, mostly because I chose the label back over 20 years ago, and it's the one that fit for me. And one of the things that I try and explain to people is you can be a humanist and a feminist. You can be an egalitarian and a feminist. You can be an individualist and a feminist. They're not exclusionary. So for me, the brand of feminism, as somebody put it, that I strive for is called equality feminism, which is basically you're an egalitarian feminist. You do focus on a lot of women's issues, but you're focusing on equality for everybody as well. Like right now, my main focus is on transgender rights and abortion rights because of what's going on right now. However, I'm also working on dealing with educating people about circumcision, educating people about how to work towards their father's rights, how to deal with custody issues. I'm working towards raising awareness about male domestic violence and rape. And I'm doing that all as a feminist because it's my choice label and it's the one that's always fit for me.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. I never ever understood the ally bit because I know that there's some men who work really hard to spread the message of feminism. I noticed that um, some men are very, very passionate about feminism. Their YouTube channel is kind of like they really want to get the message out and talk about it. But it's kind of like when I looked into for example, Steve Shice's Twitter, Steve Shice describes himself as an ally. He's not a feminist, but he's an ally. And I just always thought it was strange that a person could be so passionate about something, yet could only call themselves an ally. I always thought that was really strange.
The belief about the ally bit, especially for like Steve, is that, as he put it, I will never experience what these women have experienced. However, I have a platform that many of them don't have, so I can speak out to draw attention to their issues as an ally. However, calling myself a feminist, which he still refers to himself as a feminist or somebody who follows feminism, whatever term you want to use. And he talks about how, since he doesn't experience it personally, it would be unfair of him to speak about the topic as if he was an authority. However, he can draw attention to it using the platforms that he has available. And that's basically what the whole ally thing is using what you have to draw attention. Kind of like I've only heard of FEMRA is the female MRA, I guess. But that's basically, they would be an MRA ally. However, they just call themselves FEMRAs or female MRAs or MRAs.
Well, There are women out there who just say I'm a man, I'm MRA.
Yeah.
There are women who are like I'm a men's rights activist, and they don't see any reasons why they can't, because it just means like you advocate for men's rights. If you advocate for men's rights, then you are a men's rights advocate.
Yeah. It's I'm still trying to figure out the whole ally thing myself, so it's kind of hard to explain. But that's the best that I've been able to understand it, is basically if I take the label I'm taking away from somebody, is what some people believe. And others believe that if they wish to have that label and they follow the same views, then they'll just take the label. In my personal opinion, I think it's just adding extra, not drama, it's adding extra pieces to a puzzle that's already got enough pieces in it. And honestly, I think that if a guy wants to be a feminist or work with feminists, and he's not a total misogynistic dick like a couple feminists that I know, then let him call himself a feminist. If he happens to be a misogynistic dick and he's still pushing for a lot of the feminist ideals, let him be a feminist, but at least call him out that he's a misogynistic dick.
Yeah, like I believe that if a guy wants to call himself a feminist and he's working really hard for the ideology, I don't see anything wrong with it, because I don't think that feminists are and women are the exact same thing. Like I am a woman, but I don't describe myself as a feminist. And there are plenty of women like I think feminists make up only 18% of Americans. Well, if feminists are only 18% of Americans, then there are plenty of women, and there are plenty of women who, of course, would never describe themselves as a feminist.
Yeah, and there's a lot who just describe themselves as humanists or uh, egalitarian is one term that I've seen. The main reason I shy away from that one is sadly there are a lot of people that call themselves that are just, for lack of a better phrase, they are complete douchebags. And they're like, I'm fighting for equality. I'm an egalitarian, so I can treat you like shit. I'm like, that's not what an egalitarian is. Or when I came out as a trans man, oh, you're a man now. That means I can punch you. No, you're not supposed to hit people. Or, oh, you're a feminist. You want equality. That means I can hit you. I'm going, no, equality doesn't equal you can punch me. Equality means I'm treated as a human being. And a lot of the egalitarians that I've personally dealt with, I'm almost 100% sure that there's a ton of really nice ones out there, but the ones I've personally dealt with have been that real douchebag asshole type people, and I shy away from anybody with that label. It's like, I'm an egalitarian, and I'm going that way until I get to know the person, which is still me unlearning judging somebody by their labels. But it's basically, I'm going to step over here, we're going to get to know each other, and if you turn out to be a douchebag, you're only going to reinforce my preconceived notions. So I'm going to use the word, it's problematic. That's the only term I can use right now for that one.
I don't really get it myself, because I don't believe that anybody should punch anybody. A man punches a man, it's wrong. A man punches a woman, it's wrong. A woman punches a man, it's wrong. A woman punches another woman, it's wrong. Punching is just wrong, no matter who's doing it to whom. But I could understand that I guess some men do it in a friendly fashion where they're not doing it really hard. It's parts of male teasing each other because I think Milo Yiannopoulos talked about it on one college campus or that's women. I mean that's men. I meant to say men. That men tend to like rough house it a bit as a form of male bonding and getting closer to one another.
Yeah, I have my own personal opinions on Milo, and I don't watch much of his stuff because the stuff I do watch, I just kind of sit there with my head cocked to the side going, how are you functioning? But again, that's off of my own perception and my personal dealings with things. And when somebody says, I became gay so I don't have to deal with women, I'm going, you're really not helping the other gay people out there who are fighting against people trying to take away their rights or do reparative therapy or conversion therapy because they're saying that homosexuality is a choice. You're not helping that right there. And so for me, I'm just like, I want to just walk up to him and go, does this smell like chloroform? And just like knock him out and drag him off because he's not helping. And also he kind of looks like a homeless 1980s comedy movie reject with his dude, just we need Queer Eye for the gay guy over here. Let's go. But apparently he has a good sense of fashion. I wouldn't know. My fashion is jeans and a t-shirt. So, but it's just when I see him and he goes around saying he can battle feminists, he's the ultimate defeater of feminists, and I'm going, who the heck have you debated? Because your arguments suck. I watched the Joe Rogan one, and that's when I was like, you're not helping anybody. You're just an attention whore. Go over there. Go sit with Anita and go make friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I stopped liking Milo a while back. I forgot when, because I mean, I haven't been following him for too long. I don't even know how I found him. I don't know how I found him. And then I stopped liking him, and I don't know why. I don't know how long I stopped liking him, so I don't know the duration thereof. But I do know what it was. It was he came out as an alt-right. It's like if you talk to people who call themselves alt-right, they're kind of like black people have the IQ of 80 and black people are this and that, and some of them are connected to the KKK. Yes, some of them have connections to the Klan. So it's kind of like Milo Sequoia, I'm alt right, and it's kind of like he lost a lot of my respect, and it's kind of like he agreed to debate Ben Shapiro, but he never ever showed up. He kept postponing. Well, I'll debate you now. And it's like, well, next week, next month, well, 3 months from now, I'll debate you. And Ben Shapiro got tired. He was like, you know, I'm sick and tired of you. You keep postponing these debates. You don't really want to, because if you wanted to, then you wouldn't postpone it to like next week, next month. I cannot keep leaving it's open just for you to chicken out again. So it's kind of a lot like, you know, it's kind of a lot like I'm getting the exact same impression that you have that Milo, I mean, he's funny, he's witty, he's charismatic, but he's an attention whore who doesn't really have anything good.
Yeah, it's again like when people base all feminists off of Anita Sarkeesian and stuff. It's like we can't base all people from the manosphere on Milo or on like some of the really cringeworthy people that you see on Twitter. But it's like everybody goes, oh, but he is the feminist nightmare. And I'm going, maybe in the sense of clothing, but I don't see him as the defeater of feminism or the nightmare. I just see him as, hi, it's another person who has beliefs and perceptions that alter from mine, and I find it really creepy that he calls Donald Trump daddy.
There are people in the anti-feminist community who are bothered that he calls Donald Trump daddy. You know, there are people, believe it or not, there are people in the anti-feminist community who complained about him, to say the least. But again, he lost a lot of my respect when I learned that he came out as alt-right, and he just said and done things that have lost a lot of my respect. However, what makes him popular is that he's charming, he's witty, he's charismatic, he has a great sense of fashion, and I mean, people like being in good spirits. People like it when a person is funny, witty, and charming, you know. So, you know, it's like, and not only that, but he goes after some of the radical feminist arguments that has been debunked several times, you know. So, he goes after that, and people just like it because it's fun to watch. And the more attention feminists give him, the more popular he gets, or the more attention Black Lives Matter gives him, the more popular he gets. It's kind of like there was a, a, a scene in DePaul University where some Black Lives Matter interrupted Milo's speech. They started blowing whistles. They tried to shut it down. They threatened to punch Milo in the face. So what happens next? They put Milo, the next college he went to. He went to a different college. They put the guy on a fucking throne, and they started carrying him on a throne because people do not understand. Every action has an equal but opposite reaction. The more and more you're hostile and antagonistic to Milo, the more popular he gets. His whole entire popularity is based on him being an anathema to feminism. And the reason why being an anathema to feminism is making him popular is because people are tired of Anita Sarkeesian. There are people who are tired of Lacey Green, Francesca Ramsey from MTV Decoded, saying that, or other people calling themselves feminists, saying white people are racist. And if you are white, then you are anti-Black, you know. And people are just getting so tired and so fed up. It's kind of like, by just yelling and screaming at Milo, the only good comes of it is that you're just making him even more popular. Each and every time a drama breaks out, his sub list, like if you follow him on YouTube, his subscriber list just booms up each and every time there's a drama involving him. He gets more popular because of the drama. The drama isn't hurting him, it's making him far more popular. If people left him alone, if people just paid no attention to him and left him alone, he wouldn't be this popular, to say the least. And the exact same thing is true with Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber is the exact same way. in the sense that haters make him popular. The more and more you hate Justin Bieber, the more people put out a new YouTube video condemning him, the more people go over a long list of his faults, the more his fangirls become even more crazy attached to him and doing cuts for Bieber. We're going to cut service for Justin Bieber. And the more people are going to become crazy obsessed with him because every action has an equal but opposite reaction. The more you bring attention to just the Bieber, you're just bringing more fuel to the fire, and you're giving his fans something to fight for or something to fight against. They're more protective of him, and it just makes them even more inflamed. It solves, none of it. So for me, I just ignore Justin Bieber. I just treat Justin Bieber like he doesn't even exist. That's
Yeah,
just,
that's pretty much. It's with a lot of people. There's some YouTubers out there that I used to follow that I don't anymore. That basically their fan base is nothing but people who watch just so they can respond, and then of course that causes that person to respond, and then they gain more watchers because they caused more drama, and it just keeps going. But when the people stop making response videos, then that person stops making videos and they just fade off into anonymity. Or there's used to be a weekly series that I sometimes take part in called A Very Public Spanking Of, and each week there's a different topic, like a very public spanking of Christian puppet shows, or a very public spanking of crystal therapy, a very public spanking of UFO theories, like all these different things. And it's basically a Mystery Science Theater 3000 roast type thing. And one time they did it on Thunderfoot, on some of his less known videos. And they were just having fun. It's a bunch of skeptics and atheists ribbing on another skeptic slash atheist. And yet the moment that thing went live, there were people in the chat just attacking the show. They were attacking the people on the show. They were downvoting it. The moment the thing was over, they were leaving nasty comments, and it was like, dude, chill. You're not gonna get the little notice me senpai card today. And it's like their fan base, in the case of Thunderfoot didn't even give two shits about the thing. Yet his fan base was like, well, you're not upset, so I'll get upset for you. Ah! And I'm like, the fuck? You're white knighting for Thunderfoot after accusing somebody else of being a white knight for a feminist. You're stupid. You're an idiot.
well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There are some radical people in the anti-feminist camp. I don't know why that is. I think that some people just have a cult follower mindset, even if they do not have a cult leader. Maybe they're just the type of person who clings on a person to titan, acts outrageous, but there are some people in the anti-feminist community who are a bit radical themselves.
Yeah, and I it was in my Sargon video, I actually commented that a lot of the posts that were being made, the I wouldn't rape yous, that I said this is focusing on the fact that you guys shouldn't be getting silenced, and the news media needs to report properly on what's going on. They're not sending rape tweets, they're sending rude tweets, in my personal opinion, but they're free to do that. And we need to say it accurately. I said, if you want to discuss the psychology of it, here's the video I did yesterday on the psychology of spamming all those tweets all at once and what it can do, and how the phrase "I wouldn't rape you" can lead to "I wouldn't rape you, but I'll rape these other people" type things. I said, here's the psychology section, here's the free speech section. And a lot of the people who were posting the "I wouldn't rape you" comments, a lot of it was basically just a "notice me, senpai, notice me, give me attention. I'm being a good little house elf. Give Dobby a sock" type thing. And it's monkey see, monkey do type thing. Captain Flint, get your butt out of my face. My cat has decided that I need to give him attention now. Sorry. And it's a lot of things like that. It's, as you said, it's the kind of the cultish followers, even though you're not a cult leader. And he's just one of the better examples that I've seen of people doing that, where they'll even, when the Thunderfoot camp and the Sargon camp go at it, it's like you can't even follow the chat in a live stream because they're just so busy fighting against each other. And it's like, guys, let's listen to the message. Can we listen to the actual message that's being discussed instead of you guys calling each other limp dick tit waffles or whatever you just called yourself? And the same with, you get the feminists who have their like followers. Kathy Brennan and her group, she's the one who runs Gender Identity Watch. She and her followers, just, if you happen to be trans and she finds out about you, they do far worse than leave bad comments. They go and dox you. They will dig up any information on you and they post it on their website, going, this person's a transgender, they're actually a man pretending to be a woman, and here's their criminal record. I'm like, this is not helping. But if a trans person speaks up, they're targeted. And it's like these, and it's the same thing where Kathy has her little groupies, her hangers on, that'll go and provide her information to get little brownie points and get noticed. And it's like, guys, stop. You're putting somebody up on a pedestal who doesn't need to be up on a pedestal, because the moment they fall, you're going to eat their corpse. And it's just, I kind of pull my hair out when I watch it on all sides happening. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was, yeah, I'm pretty sure that some of them, like, I'm pretty sure that Sargon does have fans who are a bit, notice me, senpai, look at me, but I do think that some of them just thought that's what's her name again? That Jess Phillips was just being overly melodramatic, like comparing, like making a big deal because it was in the newspaper, and it's kind of like, oh, I got 600 rape tweets, and it's kind of a lot like, it's like, I bet you wouldn't say to your mother, would you go call your mother and tell your mother that you wouldn't rape somebody? And it's kind of like, by drawing attention to it, in people being opinionated, people not only being opinionated, but I think it's closer to herd mentality.
Yeah.
Which is probably what you meant when you said monkey see what you do. I just think people feel compelled to do it because it's like, it's so stupid. It's so ridiculous. Like, why bring any attention to it to the first place? Like, why does this need to be a news article when it's not even news? Which how the news has been all the way back when I was a teenager. I don't think the news was always this way. I do think that there used to be a time when the news actually talked about things that were important, things that were actually news. But now news has devolved into this. like this is what we call news now, when it's not really news. It's not something when people watch the news. I think that people want to know about a hurricane, a shooting, a catastrophe, a political, political advisors. They want some more meet the press, C-SPAN type deal, and what they're getting is histrionic behavior.
Yeah, it's basically drama sells, and it's what makes the money. I know that originally, because I stopped following it after like day 2 of the whole Jess Phillips thing because it just was a headache. Originally, she sent all of 2 tweets out and was done with it, and then all of a sudden the news media went ape shit over it, and I felt really bad that she didn't like stop it and go, hey, that's not accurate. But at the same time, I could understand that she had other things that she was doing. But it was like, can we like maybe point out that that's not what they're doing, that you're not making this claim, that you're not going, oh my God, all this is happening. What she basically said in her interview was, I had to log off Twitter. I was getting overwhelmed by the amount of messages that I was getting, and I had to log off, and I might need to leave for a while. And I was like, okay, that's great. And then you turn around, and all the newspapers are saying something entirely different. I'm going, there's a disconnect in the news, because her interview wasn't going to sell lots and lots of copies of the paper or get lots and lots of clicks. So they changed it to a sensational headline, even if the headline wasn't true.
Yeah.
And it pissed me off, because it's bad enough that we do it here in the US with the 24-hour news cycle and the sensationalist stuff and Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and all that shit. And then to see it happening over in the UK and in the European news stuff, where it was just sensationalism, because that sells copies of the paper. And I just went, after day 2, I just kind of threw up my hands, went, nope, done with it. If you make comments on my video, have fun. I'm done.
Yeah, this goes back to why I think that so many people said I wouldn't even rape you. And I mean, it's kind of like, even I'll admit I'm guilty of participating in it. It's kind of like it's the histrionic of the news itself. Like, how is this even news? This isn't really news. Like, again, when people go to the news, they want information. They don't want histrionics. They don't want the theatrical, melodramatic, teenage stuff. So it puts everybody way back into high school all over again, because the news isn't news anymore. The news is just sensationalism. The news doesn't talk about important topics anymore. They quit doing that. In America, I would say about my teenage or preteen years. But I do think that there's a time when actual news was being discussed. Like way back in the day, where the news was actually news. It was about a robbery, a hurricane, or tornado, or it could be a pleasant event that's going on in your local town. If you watch local news, it could be like the fairs in town, or it could be a fundraiser, or talking to citizens about what's happening around in the local area. It was actually informative, and I do think it was the time when George Bush was president, and I think everybody behaved a lot more grown up back then But now even adults are now behaving like teenagers.
Yeah, there's a a term Mr. Woolly came up with, Woolly Bumblebee's husband, on an article that he wrote, and he calls it adolescent. Basically, legally you're an adult, mentally you're a child or a teenager at best. And that word has actually become part of my everyday lingo when dealing with people. And basically, like if I'm talking about my kids, my two eldest are over 18. So I look at them and I'm like, okay, these are examples of adolescents. Legally, they're adults. Mentally, they're still kids. I deal with the guys at the game store. They're definitely adolescents who throw temper tantrums. And so I'm seeing this more and more with more and more adults, where the adults never reach adulthood, I guess you could say. And they are convinced that they want to stay a kid, and so they're going to continue acting like one. And then the media goes, okay, they want to be kids, let's cater to a childlike mentality and us versus them mentality. Let's cater to the lowest common denominator. And I've actually got a friend who she said, I was never allowed to be a kid, so now that I'm an adult, I'm going to be a kid. And I was like, you still need to pay your bills. You still need to pay rent. Well, I'll adult for as long as I need to, and then I'll be a kid. And you see it on posts. It's like, I adulted today, or I can't adult today. It's like, when I turned 18 and I was first going to college, we just called that life. I got up, I did my work, I came home, I ate my meals, I paid my bills. That was just life. It wasn't adulting. And I'll jokingly say it myself. It's like, yay, I adulted, or I don't want to adult. But I'm never being serious when I say it. And yet I know people who are serious when they say it. And that kind of scares me.
But to me, a lot of the blame goes, in my opinion, the media, because people are so wrapped up and consumed by the media. It's like, I don't know, it's like the media controls people's lives. I mean, I know it literally doesn't, but people are obsessed with the media. People are fanatical over the media. I mean, it's kind of like this. The media tends to be left, and yet we keep candidates that are to the left always are ahead of the candidates to the right. You know, if the leader, and of course, if the media is to the left and people are addicted to last week tonight, or if people are addicted to Saturday Night Live or whatever, if the media tends to be to the left, then of course, you're going to see why candidates that are to the left are going to win by a landslide, which Obama did twice. Obama won his presidency by a landslide, and I do think that having the media on your side helps. Or even when you look at George Bush, he didn't win by the popular vote. He won by the electoral vote, but he didn't win the popular votes. It was Al Gore who won by the popular votes, but the electoral votes supersedes the popular votes. So George Bush only won through strange rules. But if the popular votes were to have gotten their way, then it would have been Al Gore who won.
And it's also the media. Like, an example happened recently over on MSNBC where, and this was with the Bernie Sanders thing, uh, the superdelegates and the convention don't vote until July. However, they basically said that they were going to call it for Hillary, even though none of the voting is going to happen. And now, because the news media has said it's Hillary, a lot of people have jumped on it and gone, it's Hillary, it's Hillary, it's Hillary. The same thing happened with George W. Bush back in 2000. Was the news media, one of the stations called Florida for Bush, and then all of a sudden all of the others called it, even though it was still too up in the air to call. And so George W. Bush, quote unquote, won because the media basically deemed it. And that's one of the big issues that's going on, is if the media basically sets the tone for what we pay attention to. And back when I was growing up, we didn't have the 24-hour news available to us. It was, you watch the news at 6 or 7 o'clock, depending on the channel, or the 10 or 11 o'clock news. And that was your news. You didn't have this 24-hour feed, which is what we're getting now, where it's nothing but just constant bombardment of the wars or the attacks on such and such person, or the constant about an airplane malfunction. And so we're being just nonstop fed this stuff, and it's starting to kind of affect how we think and how we act. It's one of the reasons why I actually stopped watching TV altogether. Was I was noticing that my depression was just so much worse because of what I was getting exposed to. It was making me more and more depressed and making things worse and worse and worse. And I stopped watching the 24-hour news. I have like a ticker that pops up every now and then, or I'll go and I'll check a newspaper, but it's not that constant feed that I was getting. And even on social media, on Twitter and stuff like that, or on my phone, I don't have that constant notification anymore. It's, I check it when I check it. And it's actually helped, for me at least, with my depression, with my anxiety, stuff like that, is I'm not getting that constant force feeding, so to speak. And I honestly think it would help a lot of people out there if that was the case. Though I do need to get going because I really need to get dinner.
Oh, really?
If that's okay. I'm sitting here like listening to my stomach. I need food.
Oh man, I hate to see you go because there's just so many things I just wanted to talk about. But I'm still glad that you've came. I'm still glad that you've made time to come here.
Yep, definitely. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are you willing to come back again someday?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Oh, okay. Hopefully you'll come back. We'll end it here. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Bye.